So, if they can't impose a no-fly zone, what options does the West have? One is sending fighter jets to Ukraine, jets that Ukraine can use to protect its airspace. Zelensky has made this request multiple times. He says, if you can't impose a no-fly zone, send us the jets, and we will do it ourselves.
The
world is strong enough to close our skies to Russian missiles, fighter jets and helicopters. But if someone still has doubts, then Ukraine needs planes. It's easy actually, when you have the will, in order to make Ukraine's and Europe's skies safe.
The Ukrainian Air Force uses Soviet-made MiG-29 and Sukhoi fighter jets, but its Air Force is far outnumbered by the Russian ones. So Ukraine wants more fighter jets to defend their skies. Ukraine probably has around 37 to 70 MiG-29s, all of them inherited from the Soviet Union back in 1991. Ukrainian military pilots are not trained to fly US fighter jets. They are far more equipped to handle an MiG or an Su plane. So what they need are jets from the former Soviet nations. This is an offer that the West is currently debating. They are essentially weighing a three-way deal right now by turning to Ukraine's neighbors. The most obvious choice is Poland. But here's the catch. Poland could donate its old MiGs to Ukraine, but in return, it wants US F-16s as replacement. US says it has given a green light to Poland to transfer the jets, but Poland's response so far has been restrained. Well, this is because transferring fighter jets to Ukraine is not easy. Polish pilots cannot fly them to Ukraine. This is because Polish pilots are not NATO pilots. And this could mean a direct involvement. Another major issue could be a pilot shortage. Ukraine may get enough MiGs, but do they have enough people to fly them? Ukrainian Air Force has a dwindling number of pilots, and this could become a problem in the coming days. Another issue is the storage of the planes. Even if the neighboring nations get the jets to Ukraine, the biggest question is, can they safely house and service them during this war? Mikey K is a former RAF pilot. Mikey, thank you very much for staying with us. A lot of debate around the Russian Air Force. Where exactly are they? 12 days into the war, Russia is yet to establish air supremacy. Why do you think that is?
Let me just pick up on a couple of things from that last report, Eric. First one is Poland is a member of NATO, so technically the Polish pilots are NATO pilots. But you're absolutely right in pointing out that it's just a complete fallacy to expect Ukrainian pilots to be able to jump in what's been talked about is the A-10, which is the Warthog, which is a US close air support aeroplane. So that's just a non-starter. Picking up on the conversation of the debate between the US and Poland on supplying MiG-29s, the big catch point there is that the F-16s that Poland is requesting from the US, those F-16s have been designated into the Taiwan area, which the US sees as a more strategic priority at the moment. That conversation could change. It's fluid and it's dynamic. Going back to what aircraft the Ukrainians do fly, they fly the MiG-29 and they fly the Sukhoi 27. So any aircraft donated by Poland would have to be the MiG-29 or the Sukhoi 27. And we're not just talking about airplanes here, Eric. We're talking about the armaments that are strapped to the aircraft. Now, if we're going back to the previous analysis that I spoke about in terms of defensive counter-air, which is the ability for combat air patrols to target Russian aircraft in the air, it also needs missiles to do that. And the missile of choice, or the most appropriate missile, is the Russian equivalent, which the Ukrainians use of the Sidewinder, which is the Archer missile, which is an air-to-air missile, IR guided. So it wouldn't just need to be aircraft; it would need to be Archer missiles that are part of the package. So there's a big logistical issue, and there's also a political component in terms of this trading and allowing Poland to supply the Ukrainians with MiG-29s and Sukhoi 27s. The other aspect here, Eric, if I've got time, is what I've seen so far from a lot of the footage is the self-defense suites that are operated on the Russian aircraft are not really up to scratch. And what I mean by a self-defense suite is the ability for a Russian aircraft to protect itself from something like a Stinger missile or an air-to-air missile. That self-defense suite has two main components. Missile warning sensors, which are sensors that are attached to the aircraft that detect the UV plume of a missile launch, whether that's from the ground or from the air. And then you've got the flares. And what the flares do is you've seen from video footage of helicopters and both Russian air firing off these flares, big hot plumes that are supposedly, or that are supposed to decoy any seeker from either a surface-to-air missile or an air-to-air missile.
Mikey, I have to stop you there because our time is up, and thank you very much for your insights today and for correcting me. It's not MiG, it's MiG-26.
MiG and Sukhoi, Eric.
Thank you very much for that and your insights and for talking to WION today, Mikey. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.